I showed you guys the large aluminum copper radiators that came out of that huge AC unit, and some of you guys were commenting about the steel still being on the edge. So I thought I would show you the different radiators that we process and talk about why we don't cut those steel edges off anymore. So this bay set up by our baler is for our clean aluminum copper radiators, which is exactly what you guys were talking about. That is the radiators with the steel edges cut off, and these are basically 100% aluminum and copper with no contaminants. And then next to that we have our all aluminum radiators, and although they look similar, or some of them look similar, they are completely made of aluminum, and instead of having copper tubes inside of them, they have aluminum tubes. So these are kept separate and baled separate from the aluminum copper radiators, and these ones of course are worth more because they have the copper and not just aluminum, because copper is more valuable than aluminum. And the reason why we don't take the time to cut the steel edges off anymore is because the price difference and the labor cost and the cost of processing them does not really warrant the effort. Although it is worth a little bit more, we feel as if that time is spent better somewhere else. And so you can see we have several bins full of these dirty radiators. We actually need to set up a bay over there next to the baler so we don't have to store them in these bins. But we do also buy the radiator ends for people or companies that do cut the ends off to sell their radiators as clean. But on the radiators that I showed you the other day, one thing we will do on these is certainly cut off all this extra copper tubing, because the copper is worth considerably more than the radiators are. So basically all of the copper that is easily accessible, we'll cut that off, but we will leave the steel and just bale these radiators as is. And I'm definitely not trying to say that you guys shouldn't clean your radiators, because the price difference might definitely be worth it for you, but for us as a scrap processor that is handling thousands after thousands of pounds of those radiators, we did an analysis and determined it was no longer worth it for us to process them. Basically the yield for the time spent wasn't worth it, and then we basically had to have an entire dedicated workspace to just processing radiators that we don't have to dedicate anymore.